Hey
Hey, Nikhil.
team, how we doing? Nikhil with his toilet paper
Yeah.
every week. I love it.
Or no, it's our
Susie,
podcast background as well. So
right? Sejun, Sherry, Josh, Weiwei, Alufame. How we doing, team?
doing great.
Yeah? Calls in trouble? How's everyone's week been?
Yeah, fighting a week-long battle with MongoDB.
Ah, yes.
Did you win or did Mongo win?
So far Mongo's winning.
All right.
Hopefully today I can fix it.
All right. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Got the reinforcements today.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got a whole army behind you, Nikhil.
Yeah,
Sweet
like
ass.
it works perfectly except for the database, which I can't get to connect. And I tried the link I was supposed to, or the actual server I was supposed to, but like it still won't.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at your error. I don't understand where that's coming from.
Yeah, I'll see. Like right now, I got a different error after that,
Okay.
but basically, like the error I get is that like it can't find Mongo, or like it can't connect to Mongo.
Right.
Uh,
So we can have a look at this after.
Yeah.
I want to try and keep today's a little bit flexible, purely because it's kind of like an extra day. So I'm going to try and fix this WebSocket stuff. I'm hoping Tomoya comes because he sent through a PR.
Oh, cool. Anybody else have problems with the work during the week, or anybody else get it finished?
Yeah, Susie had some stuff. So I'm gonna go through. So I suppose for the later half of today, I'm gonna try and focus on you guys and do some more like troubleshooting and FAQ. So the first part we might try and merge into Moya's PR. I'll show you guys what it looks like to actually work collaboratively with other people. So somebody sends you a request and you have to review that and then merge that in. And then we can spend the rest of the day working through. So Susie's posted up her code on GitHub. So I'm going to have a clone of that so I can show you guys live what it looks like to do a bit of debugging for some other people's stuff around the application that we're building. Hey, Kim. Yes, Susie, we're going to do it live. Everyone's going to see your code. So I hope it's okay. But I think it would be really useful to everybody to go through that process.
Thank God you didn't choose mine. Everyone would go blind.
So I'm just messaging Tomoya. I really hope Tomoya shows up today.
Yeah, Tomoya's here. Tomoya just joined.
Oh, did he? Excellent.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, mate.
Oh, great.
So I was just telling people we're gonna go through your PR today.
Oh, that's great.
So I want to show for those who have just joined, welcome, good morning, hello, hey CC. Today's a little bit unstructured, so it's kind of like an extra bonus day. So for those who don't know, Tomoya very, very thankfully put through a PR to fix some of the socket stuff that we were having experience with last week and problems with last week. So we're gonna go through and I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like to merge a PR in from somebody else. So this will typically happen at work. You'll get many people working on the same project, and there's going to be people sending in requests to merge code left, right, and center. So we're gonna look see what it looks like to merge that in. So thank you very much, Tomoya, for your work on that. And then towards the end of the day, we're going to focus a little bit on what other questions you guys have had throughout this course. We're going to look at do some troubleshooting. So Susie has got some problems. Susie, if you could very clearly, not now, but just when we come to it, articulate what the problem is, so that when we clone your code and we have a look at it, we can work through that. Hey Dwayne, good to see your face. And Rajat,
Going
who
on.
else we got join us?
Hey,
Dennis,
guys.
Celine, Eddie, Denise. If I've missed anyone, I don't think so. Good morning, everyone.
Hey, Eddie.
Is that Lan?
Morning.
No, it's not Lan. Eddie, sweet.
Hi.
Who else we got?
I'm here.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
So yeah, today's going to be a little bit flexible. There's not too much an agenda, if that's okay with you guys. We're going to try and keep it flexible. And then we're actually going to finish up the webinar today so that next week we can move on to something else. So I want you guys to put your thinking caps on for the day and have a think about what we want to do next week. So I'm gonna ask you guys at the end of the day for some feedback on what we want to do and where we want to take it. There are those who have said we want to continue with this chat app, and I think we can, but I think it would be good to try something new. So if you guys want to put through some suggestions, have a think about it through the day, and we'll talk about that towards the end. But just wanted to flag that with you guys now so you guys can think about it. Someone has got some background noise. I think it might be Eddie.
Oh, let's see.
That's all right, mate. Just if you're not talking, maybe just put yourself on mute. That's good. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. We do want to hear your voice. So if you have any questions, definitely unmute yourself and talk to us. It's more just if you're not talking. Cool.
Hey, Tristan, we got a couple of people here for the first time joining us today. So just a reminder that the previous sessions are on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Recorded on YouTube, so you can catch up later.
This is part 4.5/5 of a web series that we've been running for how to build a chat web application. So for those who are new, all the code is on GitHub. So if I share my screen, just to show you guys can see this, okay?
Yep.
So if you go to Code Mentoring in GitHub, and then go to the webinar chat app. So this is what we're working through. So for those who are new, we've been doing this for about a month. So there will be quite a lot of things we've already covered. So I do apologize if this seems a little bit confusing. Definitely go to our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and then you just search in YouTube for Code Mentoring, it should show up as a channel. This one here. Definitely subscribe to us for any new videos that we come out with. We've uploaded all of the ones from here. We're also going to be uploading the webinars from Wednesdays. So for those who are new with us, Shane and Frankie are running a webinar on Wednesday nights. It's called Beginner Wednesdays, so it's more tailored towards those who are just starting out. And I have to apologize, I think specifically to Dwayne, because Dwayne has been asking for quite a while to have a more of a deep dive Thursday, and we said we were going to do it this week, but we didn't. So I apologize to those who we said we'd do it this week. We're working with General Assembly to get that spun up for us as quickly as possible. A little bit more housekeeping. We've actually got a website that we're building. So we finally have a home, which is great. So we're going to be adding to this over time. This is all open sourced. So if you guys want to help out with our own website, you can come over to Code Mentoring GitHub and go to this, no, sorry, not this one. Where did I put that? I think that, yes, it's under this one. At the moment, it's under a branch called Next.js. That's where this lives, this website. And then last night, we actually started work on our learning application. So it's just it's not styled at the moment. We got some basic stuff, but this is going to be kind of like a Duolingo for coding. So it's going to be like an alternative to Free Code Camp for those who know what we're talking about. But this is going to be our own application. So it's going to be really fun. We're going to make it like a video game. Think of it more of as a game than a platform. And we're really excited about some of these things. So I do apologize we haven't launched these webinars. We've been focusing on some other projects, but it's all coming, and we're very excited about it. So that's just some general housekeeping.
Congrats, Tristan. You're officially a YouTuber now.
I suppose I am. I should probably do like the YouTube live thing, right?
Yeah.
Like a button.
Subscribe, guys. Here's
Like
the
and
like
subscribe.
button.
The link in the description.
You have to start pointing on the screen, you know. Start
Yeah,
pointing up
merch.
here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, link in the description. Merch link below. No, none of that.
If ever Tristan starts doing that, please speak up.
Yeah, we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
I'm subscribed already. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Well, you're probably if I ever start talking about that sort of stuff, you'll have to kick me off because that's not what we're about. Great, guys. Well, I think how many people we got with us today? 18 people. That's about right. Wait another couple minutes. Start at 10:15, and then we'll kick off. So for those who just joined us, we're going to be starting off with merging in Tomoya's PR. So for those who don't know what a PR is, it stands for pull request. What does that mean? Well, in Git, we know how to commit things. We know, for those who know Git well, we know how to switch between branches. But a PR is when somebody else submits some code. So that lives under, in GitHub specifically, it lives under here. So you can see that. So we're gonna take a look at Tomoya's PR in a couple of minutes, and merge that in. So this is a very typical thing. If you guys, for example, if you were to contribute to either our learning application or the website that we're building for code mentoring, say you see a spelling error, right? You see a spelling error on the website somewhere here. You can come in and you can fork it, and then you can create a PR, a pull request, and say, hey Tristan, or hey code mentoring team, here's a feature that I'd like to have on a website, or here's a spelling error, and that will show up here. It will show up for the team. So whoever's working on this repository will see this as a notification, and that's what we're going to delve into today. We can come in here, we can see the code that this person has put forward, so you can see the files changed, right? So this is a particularly small PR. You can also add some comments, so I can say, thanks very much, Moya. Please be kind to people, right? So he'll get a notification on his GitHub up here. And then basically what we're going to do is I'm gonna have a look over this, and then once I think it's ready, right, I'm gonna go through this stuff and I go, yep, this looks good to me. We can merge it in. We can merge it in here. Right, merge pull request. So what that will do is it will take his branch from his code, and he's trying to merge this into our master branch. Right? So we haven't really got into branch strategies with this application yet. But we're gonna merge this into master. So let's just talking in the chat. Anyone like to play with my WebSocket application? You can code together. Sounds fun. Cool. So it's about time. I'm going to get started with this. So let's have a look in depth into to what he has changed. So we can see that he's added socket on message. So I think the trouble that we were having last week was that we couldn't actually talk or create that handshake between the client and the front end. So Tomoya has put this through. So we've got on message. I think that was the problem, is that we couldn't actually get that message. We're importing, this is on the API. And then we've got this, this sockets library on the front end here. So Tomoya, is this actually sending a message in sockets? Is this actually creating that handshake?
Yeah. So
Okay. Ah, yes, here it is. I missed that here. Great. So what we're going to do is we're going to clone this down to have a look. I forget exactly where we do that. So it should be on here. Should be a clone button somewhere. I think that might be it. So if I come into here and I go git checkout, no. Does anyone remember how to actually clone? Someone's just chatting. I'm going to check
So
the chat.
you want to pull it. You want to pull the.
Yeah, I want to pull this locally. I forget exactly where GitHub puts this.
Yeah, so I think so. You need to get that branch onto your local, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out which branch. Does it put through?
Double check the command for that.
I think there used to be a button or something.
Okay. Now for me, I used to use like git fetch to get all of the branches.
This should automatically do that. Git fetch.
So it gets all the branches to your local. Now try to git checkout with this branch name.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to exist. I feel a bit stupid asking this, but how to clone PR from GitHub? Pull requests, command line instructions. I swear there used to be a button for this, but could be wrong. Ah, okay. Here we go. All right. Great. So I just pulled that in. So we go git log. No. Check out new branch and test the changes. Okay, there we go. So git log. So this is Tomoya's changes that we got here. All right. So if we let's run everything now. So if we go cd packages API, yarn dev, we'll go into the client. cd packages client dev. Must be missing a dependency. Not sure why. Some errors here. I think this is because I upgraded my node version locally. So I might just have some slight errors. Just wait for this to update. So this is a very typical experience, right? You download somebody else's code. You've got to make some small changes. So what I'm doing right now is actually very typical of a day-to-day job as a developer, or someone who's maintaining or working on a project with other people. So it might seem a little bit boring, but this is actually very, very typical. And for those who haven't seen this experience, it's probably quite beneficial. That all of development isn't just coding and winning. A lot of development is just checking out other people's code and trying to find things. Okay, so we've got both of these things running now, which is good. So let's load this up in a new tab. There's the first one.
It's like that famous joke. You don't pay a software developer to copy code. You pay him to know what code to copy.
Yep, that's exactly right. Another one, I think, on a related note is, why does my... For those who haven't seen this, I find it quite enjoyable. Where is it? I can't find it exactly, but it's a picture. It's the same picture repeated twice, with a guy saying, "Why doesn't my code work?" And then right underneath, "Why does my code work?" It's exactly the same picture, which is quite funny. All right, so doesn't look like I have any conversations. Oh dear. So what have we got going on here? 500. Key constraint. So where was this working on your branch? Must be something I did.
Working. It
It was working. All right, so we got some problems here. Let's do a bit of debugging. I'm getting 500 on this. You do not have permissions to that conversation. I thought we fixed that problem. Yeah, when we're creating a conversation, I swear we'd give them permission. Where are we? And routes, conversation. Post, add user. So this should be working. Adding user. Just add a bit of logs in here. Not sure what's going on with this one. Is it because we're not logged in? That might be it. Let's just check our SQLite, open database. We really should move to a proper database at some point. What have we got in here? Yeah, I mean, we've got, you know what it might be? It's because we probably logged out. That's probably what it was. So we should probably have a nicer experience than just some error. Secret. No. You do not have permission to that conversation. All right, so I'm going to try removing this database and try again. Let up our friend Insomnia. What I would actually do in a production application as well is I would actually create a little seed script that populates our database with some dummy data. So that's actually something we might even do that today if we have time. So I'm just going to restart everything because I just deleted that database. Load up Insomnia. Go to our chat app. Hit sign up 1. Sign up 2. Going to log in. Try this again. Great. New convo, create. Okay, cool. So let's now check what we were originally here to do, which was, so remember, if we go into the network tab and we filter by WS, which stands for WebSockets. Click on this. We should see. All right, so I'm not seeing this, Tomoya. I'm not seeing any messages come through on this. We are getting some messages here. So what I'm going to do is just take out our logger for the URLs, just because it's making things a little bit hard to see. And then in our socket, the API, we'll just make this a little bit easier to read. So we'll say new socket message from client.
Kristen?
Yep.
Can you zoom in a bit, please?
Say again?
Can you zoom in a bit, please?
Yeah, we're finding it a bit hard to read. So if you can just zoom
I'll
up,
zoom in,
good.
zoom in.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about Zoom, the application.
No, sorry.
Is that easier?
Yes, much better.
Awesome. Apologies, I forgot to do that. Just fix this error. Got a connection. Refresh this. Okay, this is working. I'm not sure why it's not showing up inside our WebSockets here. Unless it's somehow encrypting it. But it's not showing up here. Tomoya, does it show up for you in the WebSockets thing?
No, I only see in the client console. But
interesting. That might have been our problem last week then. It might have actually been working, but okay. Well, this looks to be working. Let's do a little bit more of a test. Come into sockets on the client. Let's go window.admin socket equals admin socket. Just so we can manually do some stuff. We'll add a TS ignore on this, just so TypeScript doesn't complain.
Sorry. Right now we're trying to send that hello message right now.
So this is what we're testing, Dwayne.
Yeah. I think you have to tell it like what branch or kind of like what radio station you have to send it on. So would be
cutting
like
out
messages.
You're cutting out a bit. What?
Sorry?
You're just cutting out a bit. Are you saying what's
like in front of hello?
Yep.
I think messages need to be there.
Messages needs to be there.
Yeah, like if you go back to the server. So this is a client.
Like,
yeah, no, outside of the brackets. So like go back to the server.
So server sockets?
Yeah. So see how it says socket.on and then it says message? That's kind of like what radio station you're listening to. So
yeah, this is not a room, I don't think. So
that's kind of like, okay. That's my understanding was like, that's
yeah, you
like
can have
what it's listening to. So
yeah, you can have
to send it on that frequency.
You are correct. I think this is just a general one. That's what we're about to test. So we just stored it on global. So we should see some stuff come through here in a second. So let's try this. So we got admin socket.send. Testing. There we go. So there we go. So we can confirm this is working, team, which is great. So now what we want to do is we actually want to go the other way. So we want to go admin socket.on message. And we're actually going to copy and paste this code. So it's exactly the same idea. Socket.
I can learn to understand. I can learn to understand you much better if I can.
Come on. All right. So now if we send something, now why don't we send something back, all right? So we'll go s.send server response, like this. So now if we send a message to the client, it's going to log it, and it should send something back to the client. All right, so let's try this. There we go. Server response. So Tomoya has successfully solved that problem, which is great.
All right. Good job, Tomoya.
Good job, Tomoya.
Nice one.
So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to continue working on this branch while we get this working. So what's going to happen is I'm actually going to add some of my own commits onto this. So currently it's just been Tomoya. So what I'm going to do is actually add my own commits to get the messages working, and then we're all going to merge it into master together. Cool. So let's go ahead and actually get dynamic sockets working. So if we, that's right. We were going to add the user as well. I forgot about that. Okay. Let's do the sockets thing first, or which makes more sense. Let's do the add user so that we can have the two side by side. Or can we do that already with do we have an add user to conversation in our routes? Let's have a look. That client API. Do we already have add user? No, we don't. Okay. All right, cool. Let's just continue with what we're doing. We'll just merge this in. So I'm going to do a different strategy. We're going to merge this in. We're going to add the user modal thing, and then we're going to continue on with the sockets. So
it's interesting. You want to have some way of inviting another user to your conversation.
Yeah, just so we can test the socket connection.
At the moment, you're talking to yourself, right?
At the moment, I'm talking to myself. Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
So I don't think I added anything important here. Just checking. Yeah, I didn't do anything important. So I'm just going to go and remove all my changes. All this is just debug code. So Tomoya has successfully submitted a good PR. So what we're going to do is merge it in. So what you'll typically do, actually, Tomoya, can you request, just to show people, can you request my review? Just to show people. Let me know when you've done that, Tomoya.
How is he doing that?
So he created this PR, and he will request. So here in Tomoya's screen, he'll have this, and he can request whoever's sort of running the project. You can request their review of the PR. So not sure if Tomoya's. I can request it myself, but I sort of want to show you guys what it looks like when Tomoya does it. I'm not sure if he's around. That's right. I'll just request myself. But Tomoya, typically, if you create a PR for a project, you'll request. So I've now been requested. So if I refresh, I should see, yep. So this pull request is waiting your review. And I should also get a notification as well, somewhere. So if I add my review, right, I go through all the files and I go, yep. So I can either comment, right, just a general comment. I can either approve it, or I can actually say, no, we need some more changes. In this case, it's great. So we'll say, looks great. Merging in. All right, submit review. So this has now been approved. Now you can set up rules inside your repository to say, it can only be merged in if 2 or 3 people, more than 2 people have approved it. And you can determine who can approve, and there's a whole bunch of rules associated with that. So this has been approved. So now I'm going to merge this PR in. Confirm merge. Boom. So this has now been merged in, and I can go and actually check out master now. Git check out master. If I do, so we're now behind. So all the pull request that commits that he did, we have to update it. So we're going to git pull. And there we go. So that's how you basically go through a PR and merge that in. And you can see here, this should not show up anymore because it's already been closed. Great. Who is this? Someone put through a removed all code by Tristan. All right. So let's go ahead and do our modal with the adding a user. So I think I need to restart everything. Just make sure that we got these users already in there. Just delete that again. And try this again. Cool. So user 1, user 2. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is having a oh, it didn't work. Okay. So in our conversation, right, new convo, we want to have a screen or a button here, so add users, that pops up with a big modal that allows us to add another user in to this conversation. So let's go ahead and do that. This is going to be focusing mostly on the front end. I think we already have a searching. Did we do that last week? Searching for users? Yes, we did. Clever us. All right, so let's go ahead and just focus on the client side now. So what we're going to be using is a technology called React portals. What is a React portal other than a really cool name? So a portal allows you to, inside React, typically what you do in React is when you put a child in, or you put an element into the tree, it puts it in exactly where you say. But a portal allows you to essentially put this element in anywhere in the tree, but in the actual DOM, it renders somewhere else. Now, this is really useful for something like a modal, because wherever you put the modal, you always want it to sit outside. You want to sit on top. This is why portal is very useful. So we're actually going to build a modal component very similar to what they've got here. All right. So the first thing is we actually need to define where we want the modals to sit. So everything is currently living inside our app. What we're going to do is create a new thing we call it Modal Root or Modal. All right, that sits out here. So any modal that we open is not going to be inside app now. It's going to be inside this part here. And the benefit of this is that we can give specific CSS styling to this, and we can place the modal anywhere inside React, and it will always render right here. So do we have any questions on why we need to use portals? Cool. So let's actually go ahead and do this. So I'm going to create I personally like to call it a modals as a root level thing. And we also need a modal component. Modal TSX. All right, I like to use an aside as the modal. So I'm just going to have a look to what they've got here. We might even just copy this code exactly. Let's have a look. So this is the key part here. Create portal. So the element is dynamically created. We have the modal root, which gets passed in here. So whenever the modal gets added to the page, it automatically creates this div. And then everything that we pass into the modal gets rendered into this div. So if you want to look up documentation for it, that's all under React documentation. So we're going to use this code here. Now, we're actually breaking our rule of using hooks and functional components because this is doing some specific stuff with mounting and unmounting. There might be a way to get around this with using functional components, but for now, let's just use this. Okay. This is any for now. L equals. Let's do some TypeScript stuff. HTML div element. Modal root is definitely defined. We call this modal, not modal root. Okay. So this is our modal component. Now, what are they saying? Handle clicks. So this is how we close the modal. And let's just go ahead and try and get this working. So I'm going to go into our, where should we put this? Conversations page. All right. I'm going to actually just put it straight here. Modal for now, as a bit of a debug. So I should have imported that automatically. No. How come that's not showing it out? Import modal from components / modal. What's this complaining about? TypeScript is a bit slow today. Okay, so that is working. Now if we reload this page, we've got some problems. React is not defined. Probably in here. React from React. Class modal. React DOM from match DOM. Let's just see. Yeah, everything's running very slowly today. So apologies, team.
Too early in the morning.
Yeah, needs a coffee. I'm often getting problems with TS-lint and VS Code not saving files. Being very slow with that. Come on, computer. Oops, I think I just closed down VS Code. Too many windows open. Apologies, team. Nothing better than a blank purple screen, right? Hopefully if we close some of these windows, it'll make it a bit faster. Wow, lots of things going on. So I can't seem to create a new. Yeah, everything's breaking for me. Sorry, team. VS Code is having some problems. I suppose that's what you get for using a nightly build. Oh, this looks better. Joys of web development. Okay. Cool. Let's take this time to build. Then we should have a modal. We should put something. Probably should put something in the modal, just so we can actually see it. Okay. So if we just do Command F. Ah, look. Okay, so we can see here, right? If we expand modal. Now we did not put this. We put this inside the main, right? But it's sitting out here inside the modal, and that is what a portal does. Is it teleports this guy all the way out to here. Does that make sense, team? So that's what this create portal does. Is it takes the content and puts it out here. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to an aside. HTML aside element. Just so we have a bit more semantics. Great. And let's add some styling. It calls modal.css. We'll give it a class as well. Just .l.class names, class list, .add modal. Side.modal. Okay, so who knows how to make this stretch across the screen? The CSS question. Anybody know? Any guesses?
You mean full screen?
Yep.
With 100%?
Yep. So we're gonna. What position do we use?
Is it like on top of the conversation page?
Yeah, it's a modal.
In
It's gonna sit.
position absolute?
No, we're actually going to use position fixed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So even if we scroll the page, we still want it to show up. So that's the difference between absolute and fixed. Fixed is actually relative to the page. And that's the reason why we took it out here in the first place.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So position fixed, top 0, left 0, width 100%, and height 100%. For those who are curious as to how I'm typing CSS so quickly, this is a really, really good thing for you guys to know, is it's using Emmet CSS. So if I go W100, it's going to be width 100 pixels. If I go W100p, sends it into percent, or R for rem. If I do POA, position absolute, and I press tab. So this allows you to write CSS really quickly instead of typing out everything manually. So I recommend you learn.
Plugin?
It should be automatically built into VS Code.
Oh, okay.
So have a play with it yourself. For example, try display block, DB. Right, display inline block, which would be, what do you guys think?
DI?
DIB. Just DI is display inline. DIB is display inline block. What else have we got? What about cursor pointer? Right. What about what's some other common ones? Display none. Right. All these things. So I would definitely learn those things because it makes your CSS much, much faster. Okay, so we've got this. We've got, let's give it a background. Actually, let's give it a background of, yeah, that's fine. We had some colors here, didn't we? So this is a special Sass command in that I can make a hex code with some opacity. This is not CSS. Not yet. I think it will be one day. And modal side.modal with 300. Why is that? Ah, yes, I see. So we've got some problems because our sidebar is also an aside, and we've called that. We've got some styling here. So what we're going to do is go into our sidebar CSS and actually give this a .sidebar class, just so it doesn't interfere with our modal. That should hopefully fix up some of those problems. Not exactly. Sidebar. Wrong class name. There we go. Modal. We need to import. I think we need to import this modal CSS. Great. There we go. So now we have this this modal sitting over the top of everything, which is great. So what we need to do is have something sitting in the middle, right? So I might change the structure. just a little bit. We want to have the, let me think about this. Modal root. So what we're going to do is toggle a class on this this modal here, this root element. And then modal root dot class list dot add open when it's mounted, and when it's closed, we're going to remove it. And then in the modal, we're going to have modal root. It's actually going to be display none to begin with. And then when it has the class of open, we're going to have display block. Great. So that's, let's just see this here. Should be a classes. Let's just remove this class just to show you. We'll take off the open. Oh, maybe not. Sorry, not modal root, just modal. Apologies, team. So if I remove this open class, it should hide itself. And then if I add class equals open, it should show. That's good. So we're actually going to move this stuff into here. And instead, in the side modal, we're actually going to give this as a background color white, border radius. Do we have that in base? Border radius? No. Say 4 pixels. There we go. And we'll say to center this aside in the middle. All right. What we're going to do is have display grid on the open. Align item center to center them vertically, and then justify content center to center them horizontally. There we go. It's now sitting in the middle. So we're starting to get the feeling of a modal, very so slowly. So let's add some padding. Say 2rem. All right, now she's looking better. So why don't we go ahead and actually start adding some proper content into this? So I'm going to go into our modals. I might post this on Slack for you guys. Or should I do GitHub? Which you guys prefer, GitHub or Slack? Just so you guys can get this code.
I prefer either. GitHub's probably best.
GitHub? All right, cool. People are saying GitHub. Let's just check what we've done. So we've added the modal root. We've added the modal CSS. We've got the modal class. We've got the sidebar fixes so it doesn't interfere. And then we've actually added the modal into here. Now this is going to be, I'm about to update this. So this is just so you guys can get the modal classes. We're about to actually add the custom modal. So feature added modal. So that's up on GitHub for you guys. Okay, so we have this modals container. Let's go ahead and say add user to conversational convo. .modal.tsx. Okay. So the root component is going to be the modal class that we had. Now let's put in, say, a h2 and say add users to conversation. Now here, we're going to have, instead of on our conversations page having the modal, we're going to have instead this modal, our custom modal. Okay, so let's add a little bit of styling. In fact, we're doing a H2, so we'll add some base styling. H2. So font size 24 pixels. We'll say color main. Too big. So 1.8. Great. Let's say font weight bold. There we go. Now we're going to have a search bar or an input field. And this input field is going to search, it's going to be a form to search the search endpoint that we had. So we had this under the conversations route. So we had this here. Not conversations, users. Search users. With a Q. I think we had that in here. Search users. Yeah. So this is what this input field is going to be doing. It's going to be updating and searching for users and then listing them out underneath. So let's go ahead and do that. So just close everything down, open up this add user conversation modal. All right, let's add an input field. Type text. Placeholder is going to be search users. All right, we need to add a ref. Yes, we do. Ref. Import that. It's going to be input. Null initially. Remember to type it in HTML, in TypeScript. HTML input element. And then in here, we're going to go ref equals input. We might not actually need that ref, I'm just realizing, but let's just have a look. The onChange, so const onChange equals change equals onChange. What type is this? Just type this exactly. Going to be change event. The reason why we're doing this is just so that TypeScript knows when we put in the E here, what type of event it is. Maybe not. What type is this? There we go. That's just so that the E now has that correct type. You don't have to do that, but it's just a bit nicer for us. So for now, let's just say log e.value, target.value. And we actually don't need this ref anymore. Okay. So we come in here and we type some stuff. We should see this going through, which is good. So what we actually want to do is search the users with this new text, right? So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to have API dot search. Do we have search users? No, we don't. So let's go into our API and add that in. So we've got get messages. Put it next to the. It's fine. Here. Called search users. We call this query string. It's going to be get. And then what do we have? Slash users slash search. Like this. And then we have a query string of q equals query. Like that. So we're just passing that in. So let's go api.searchUsers e.target.value. So what are we doing? We just created this API interface to talk to this URL. And then we're just hooking that up into our onChange event, passing in the target value. So let's log the value for this. Const response equals await. Just log that response. Log response. And then it's okay. So if we type in Bruce, you can see here, that is working. What if we type in Joker? That is also working. So we have this connecting to our API and returning the correct results. It's on every keystroke, which is probably not the most efficient method, but I don't want to go into too much complexity with this just yet. But do we have any questions so far on how we've hooked up the modal with the input to getting this result here? Is it all making sense so far, team? Cool. So I'm going to give everyone a 5-minute break. We'll come back at about 11:15, and then we're going to actually list out the users, and we're going to add them into, when you click on the user, it's going to hit that API, an API endpoint to add them into the conversation. So come back at 11:15, which is about 7 minutes away. I'm just going to hang here with you guys. Just a chance to go to the bathroom, get some water, grab a bite to eat. We'll come back in 11:15.
Could you push your code to GitHub?
Sure can. What have we got? H2, Congo modal, user, API, endpoint. Cool. Feature client, added, full user search. There you go, Tomoya. I'll check Slack because I haven't checked Slack in a sec. Cool. All right, here we go, team. So how's everyone's week been? How are we dealing with this COVID stuff?
I got myself a skin tattoo from baking.
Oh, nice. Yeah, dangerous baking.
Yeah.
Man versus oven.
Yeah. It's actual proof that I cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what they say, if a blade's sharp doesn't mean you actually use it. It means that you haven't used it.
You don't know how to cook, yeah. Who else we got? Jeff, thanks for sneaking in. Folke.
Yeah, no worries.
I haven't seen you in ages, mate. So good to see you. Is that you eating a burger at one of our lunches?
Okay. Oh, awesome.
It looks like Falco's eating a burger at one of our lunches.
It's, seafood tacos, I think that's what he's eating.
Is that what it is? It's so good to see you, Falco.
Yeah, man.
Hopefully we can hear your voice if you're around.
Yeah.
Who else have we got that's joined us? Anyone new? Avijit, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Ahmed snuck in. Akshay. We've got Kevin joined us. Thanks, Kevin. We've got a mysterious E. I like that. I like that. So how's everyone else going this week? We've got an oven burn. We've got Folke eating some fish tacos. Hey Nadia. A lot of people showing up now, which is good. So do we have any ideas for what we want to work on next week?
I was thinking of a game.
A game?
Actually. Yeah, something like Kahoot.
Okay. Do a game. All right. It's a good idea. What else have we got? I'm gonna pick.
Potentially something like web mining or web scraping based apps or something like that.
Not sure how useful that is for a lot of people. Hey Farhad. You're on mute, mate. We can't hear
you. Story of my life. Good morning, team.
Good to see you, mate. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Yeah, good, mate. Very good. We're just chatting about what we want to do next week because we're going to close this webinar for this series. So we're kind of coming to the end of it. But do you have any ideas or things you're hankering to know for next week?
To be honest, this is kind of like my first team meetup with you guys. So I don't know what you have done to this date. I just hope you guys continue. This looks.
Oh yeah, we will. We've got lots of things. This is your first time. I thought you were a new face.
Yeah.
So yeah, welcome. We're code mentoring. This is what we do. We actually run physical events usually, but obviously we can't do that right now. So we've turned online. So we're running weekly events. We've got one on Wednesday, which is beginner focused. We've got this one, which is more of like a workshop, longer period. It's all recorded on YouTube as well.
Very good.
So we've actually been running this. This is the 5th week in this series. So next week we're going to be starting a new series. So that's why I'm asking people what they want to learn. So there's no wrong answer, Farhad.
If I make you my input, since you asked me, I'm totally new to programming. I'm actually a project manager. So I just want to sit here and I just watch you guys be a sponge and learn whatever I can.
Great.
I'm currently learning some stuff on the side, but a lot of things obviously don't make sense to me because.
I would highly recommend that you come on Wednesday night.
Wednesday it is.
Because this is a deep dive. This is a advanced tutorial. This is not beginner friendly.
Very good. Thank you.
So yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. I don't run it on Wednesday. It's Shane and Norman who run that. Shane and Frankie who run that on Wednesdays.
Are you okay if I still stick around just to hear you guys talk, or are you just?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
No, of course, mate.
Thank you.
Everyone's welcome here. We're all friends.
Yeah. Leave a like, subscribe, and comment for further updates on what we're learning.
All right, I'll press that bell icon.
Hey, Falco's got a moustache.
What's this moustache?
You got a hairy caterpillar going, mate.
Oh man.
Loving it.
Awesome.
It's me being bored.
Yeah.
And it makes me laugh every time I see myself in the mirror.
Are you gonna curl it? Are you gonna get like a French mustache?
I don't think it'll get long enough, and I cut it before because it's just in the way.
I believe in you, man. I believe in the power of your moustache.
Yeah, we'll see. It depends on how long this lockdown lasts.
Yeah. How's the baby?
He's good.
Yeah.
He's keeping us up at night, but it's all right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
How are you guys doing?
We're good, mate. We're powering through. We got heaps of updates. We've got all sorts of new initiatives.
Awesome.
Code mentoring has never been stronger. So
that's great.
Yeah.
It's good to see you, Falco, man.
Yeah, you too, Shane. You too.
Yeah,
it is.
How's your courses going? You were doing some boot camp, right?
Yeah, I'm doing Springboard. Career software engineering career track, and that's really good. I'm about like 20% through it now.
Sweet.
But so far it's really good. Got a cool mentor in Russia that I talk to once a week.
All right.
The important thing about learning how to code is you must keep your code dry.
Yes. Oh, he's awesome. He's great. He's really good.
Cool, guys. All right, let's get back into it.
Cool.
Good to hear your voice, Falke.
Yeah, you too, guys. Good to see you.
Much appreciated. All right, share my screen again, and we'll jump back into it for the exciting part. All right, so just to recap, what have we done so far today? We've merged in this PR. We've created this modal. We can actually, a really good way to see what we've done is go over our commits. We've merged in this PR. We've added this modal following React portals. We gave it a bit of styling. And now we're adding this initial user search. So we added the search endpoint in React. We added an initial modal that's using the modal that we created. And then we add some styling for the H2. So the next part is to list these users out. All right. So what we should probably do is have some kind of script that generates multiple users for us. It might be a little bit easier to test things. So let's go ahead and create a little script to do that inside our API. This is what I typically do for my job a lot whenever I'm starting a new project, just so that we can test. And whenever somebody new clones the repository, instead of going through and manually, creating all these users and that sort of stuff, it just puts it all into a big script for you and generates a bunch of users. So we're gonna create a bunch of users using this format here. I just thought of this now, so this is a complete tangent, but I think it's useful for you guys to show. We're going to use a library called Faker.js to randomize inputs for users' names and emails and things like that. So this is just to generate fake stuff like this, like that. So let's create a little script. Call it seed.ts. And let's say const users equals, let's say 100 users. Or let I equal 0, I smaller than users, I++. What we want to do is create this, go to this sign up link, right? So we're going to use a library called request. Request, I don't know if I have that installed. I'm actually going to install one called request promise. That into our webinar chat app. Request promise. Add that into our API. Yarn add request promise. Okay. It probably needs a type as well. Those who see me running these yat commands and yad commands, I've just aliased my yarn stuff because I do it so often. So that's just all that is. It's nothing fancy. Request. Okay, so now we're going to do a .post. And the body is going to be a JSON.stringify. Pass in some random values through this. Okay, so we also need to add faker. So yarn add faker. Import faker from faker. This will make it much, much easier for us to test with lots of data. Okay. So if we go faker dot name dot first name, and we call that. There we go. This is just going to generate a random first name, random last name, faker.email. What is email? Exactly what that's under. Internet.email. And then also a password. Let's just give everyone the same password to keep it easy. And we're going to actually add the emails as well. So const emails, just so we can log them out at the end. Emails.push. Does this make sense what I'm doing here, guys, and why we're doing this? Just so we can test this, this API to have lots of things in it. Okay, so we're going to have a random first name, random last name, an email, and a password. The password's always going to be secret. And then we're going to await on this. So for this to work, we're going to use a for await, and we'll just wrap this in an asynchronous function. It's annoying because you can't use await on the root level Node.js. I think they've changed that recently, but what's this complaining about? Is that not valid? Let's try that one. Okay, so email, and then we're going to emails dot push email. And then at the end, we'll just say log emails. So it'll just give us a big long list of people, all the emails that we can sign up with. Great. So let's try this. We'll just build it. So this should now be sitting inside. We should have a seed.js. And then let's just add a command for us inside our package.json. Add a little script. We'll say seed. Say node dist/seed.js, just to run that file for us. And then we'll have to have the API running for this to work. So just to run the command, and then in a separate tab, yarn seed. Okay, what have we got here? Valid protocol localhost. That's because we need to have a HTTP in front of it. Try that again. Status code error. Is it running on 4000? That might have been the problem. What are we running the server on? No, it is 9999. It should be working. Very strange error here. It's not a very pretty error, is it? A bit hard to read. Getting a 500. So I wonder. Arguments undefined. Sign up is working. Let me just check. Yeah, so sign up is definitely working. Maybe if we do headers. Play around with this. Nope, still getting the problem. Why don't we try a different library? Try Axios. Slow post. Pretty sure you can post a JSON inside Axios, if I'm correct. Could be wrong. Let's just try this. That's built. Okay, this looks a bit better, doesn't it? There we go. Fantastic. So if we go into our database, SQLite, go into our users. Excellent. So we can see all these users here that it's generated for us. So the reason why this is good is it will make our searching much better because we'll actually have some proper results. So that's the reason why I did that. So let me just remove this. Great. I'm just going to push this up for you guys. So just to recap, I added the Axios and Faker. Remove that request promise. We don't need that anymore. So Axios and Faker, and then we just added a simple little utility, the seeding. So we're just looping over 100 users. You can change that number to whatever you want. And we're just posting to our sign up. Keep in mind, guys, you have to have the server running for this to work. Great. Just going to add that into GitHub. So feature API. Added seed. Sounds a bit seedy, doesn't it? Added seed. Oh well. Here's what it is. Okay, so all that aside, we should now be able to, is our API running? We should now be able to search here. So if I type in a random name, Mary, there we go, look, lots of people. So we have no Marys. What do we have? We have Marcia, Margot. What about Bob? No Bobs. John, no Johns. All right, well, they're using pretty non-typical names. There you go. Jennifer, so this is all working, which is very good. So the next thing is to list this, to actually show them down here. So let's go ahead and do that in our UI. So the add user conversation modal. Now we have the, what are we returning this as? The first name and last name, ID. So const, interface user is the first name, string, Last name. So this is going to return. Oops. Stopped working. I think it's prefixed with anything. I think it should just be straight up array. So this response is going to be a list of users, just so we can type this. So say we'll use a state, a hook state. So we'll say use state. Right. Users. And initially, it's going to be set to nothing. Remember, in TypeScript, we want to type it like this. So now this is typed nicely. Remember that, guys? So that when we're looping over things, so we'll have the UL users.map user I. So now this user is typed. So we can go u.firstname. That's the reason why we do this, just to recap. So remove this part, and we'll just say simply set users. It's just going to update that state, which will in turn re-render the list of users. User.firstname, user.lastname. Great. So now if I do John, there we go, team. It's kind of ugly looking, isn't it? But that's how we get that in there. So let's do some styling associated to this, because this looks horrible. Let's add a maximum. Let's add a height to this UL. So we'll go ahead and we'll say add user to modal.css. We'll use that class name. Yeah. So we're currently not accepting a class name on Modal. So let's just fix that up. That's under here. Under the props, class name. Screen. Remember to make it an optional class name because you don't want to force them. So you do that with a question mark. That's how you do it in React components. And then actually, that did not. Constructor this.l.classlist.add this.props.class name, but only if there is a class name. So if add that in. Great. So that will just mean that this guy gets added to our modal, so we can target it inside CSS. This guy here. .modal. And let's just check that that's actually doing that. Yes, it is. You can see that right there. Okay, import modal CSS, import a CSS file. And let's add some styling to the UL. So UL, we'll say height is, let's say 400 pixels. So it's always going to be the same height. All right, which is good. So now we're not getting this jumping around. We also need to add, who knows what to add to fix this problem? Who can tell me?
Tristan, what's your question again?
So see how this is scrolling out? This uses is we've set the height for the UL, Right?
Overflow property.
Overflow hidden. Do we want to hide it?
So do you need to increase the height 100%?
No. No. Overflow is correct.
Overflow
almost.
scroll?
Wait, is almost correct. Wait. I don't think there is an overflow scroll. What you're looking for is auto. But you had the same concept, the same idea. Wait.
Yeah, if there are like more number of items, it will overflow. Otherwise, it won't. Like
yeah.
Won't scroll. Yeah.
So that's the reason why it's not overflowing at the moment. It's because we set the height. We specifically set the height. So for this to work, we're actually going to go overflow Y auto. See here?
Oh, so overflow scroll is close.
Yeah, that's what I said to way.
Way is close. Yeah.
Yes.
This is cool. Didn't know that. Yeah.
Yep. This is just a little CSS trick for you. Cool, right? Okay. So let's do a little bit more styling on this because it looks kind of ugly. Let's go input width 100%. Bring him out like that. We'll go input, have the margin of say 2 rem 0. Just do a bit of space between that header. Okay, and I actually just do the margin top for now. The margin bottom will give it 1. The reason why, and this is the design thing, guys, is there's a concept called gestalt. It's a technical term. In fact, there's probably some good images for it. This is a bit of a design lesson for you. So I don't know if I can zoom in on this. This here, right? We've got proximity. This is the rule that we're talking about. If I added the same amount of margin to both of them, so let's just set this to what I had it before, which was margin bottom and margin top are both the same, right? This input field looks like it's sitting on its own. It's not related to the title and it's not related to this. However, by changing it ever so slightly, now these two items look grouped. So the input field now looks like it relates to this. So when you change the spacing between things, it tends to group things together, and you want to group things that are related. Particularly with input fields, you want to group them to if they're showing a list of things, you want to have that grouped together. Another way would be to enclose it inside a background or something like that. But by having that closer together, it's just a little tip to have that look better, if that makes sense. Cool. So we've got this. Now let's add a little bit of styling to these LIs because they look kind of ugly too. So say LI, let's give it a height of say 2 rem, also a line height of 2 rem. All right, now it's looking a bit easier on the eyes. Now, what we want to do, actually, this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this as a style. Maybe we do one more thing. So we're gonna have the grouping, and we're also gonna have the enclosure. I'll show you what I mean. We're gonna add a faint background to this UL. So what are we using for the inputs? I think it's soft. Background, color, soft. No. Why do we have it as main soft? There we go. And now what we're also going to do is join these together. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to remove that margin bottom from here. And you'll notice there's still this ugly kind of thing here, right? So what I'm actually going to do is give this a negative margin on the top. And it's going to be half the height of the input field. The input is, what do we call the input field? The base. Input has a height of, it's automatic. That's fine. We'll just do an approximation. So margin top, let's say -2 rem. See if that works. Too much. See how it's jutting out over the top? So 1.5. All right. There we go. It's looking a little bit better. And then the last thing we'll do, the problem with this as well is this is now sitting over the top. And we also need to add some padding to the top. So we'll do Z index, Z -1, just to bring that underneath. All right. We also need to add some padding to account for that negative margin. So we'll do padding top, say 2 rem. Still, I think if we give a background to the input field. Nope. Still. Okay. I already know how to fix this, but who here has an idea on how to fix this?
Should it be like padding bottom?
No. So see how this is overriding over the top of the input field? All right. So what we're actually going to do is add a Z index to the input field itself. So not the UL, but the input field itself. And it's important to set position relative because that'll fix it. And we'll set this to something higher, like say 2. And that should, hopefully, there we go. Okay, so this looks kind of ugly right against the wall here. So let's just give it a little bit of padding on the sides. The padding top is 2. And we'll say the sides is say 1 rem. And the bottom is also 2. So let's see how this looks. All right, looking good. So just zoom back out. Let's reset the zoom. Looking pretty good. What do we think, team? So what's the next step? We'll just add a little bit of a border radius on the bottom as well, just to make it look like that input field. So border, bottom left radius, I think it was 20 pixels that we had for the 20, yeah. And also for the bottom right. There we go. So what is the next part that we need to do? Cursor pointer for the allies. Yes, absolutely, Susie. We're also going to add a hover. Color. All right, so we've got that. We've got that. Now, when we hover over it, it's a nice little hover. All right. What else, team? Well, we've actually got to add them into the conversation, don't we? That's our next part. Is adding a user in. Now, I do not think we currently have that API endpoint. Let me check. Conversations routes. No. So we have to add a user in. We have to give someone permission. All right. So let's go ahead and commit this all to Git because it's looking pretty good so far. So just to recap, we've added the ability to add a class onto the modal component. Remember, it's optional. That's why that question mark is there. Because if you don't have that and you try and create a modal without a class name, it will throw a TypeScript problem. So make sure you have that in for optionals. We did some styling for the modal, and then we rendered them out.
Tristan, I think Susie has a question.
Chat. Cursor pointed to the LIs. That's what I've just added.
All right.
Yeah, so you can see that on my. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but that does have a cursor pointer in the CSS. Right here, line 18. Any other questions before we move ahead, team? Cool. So feature client styled the add user modal. Fantastic. All right. So the next part is let's jump into our API and give someone the ability to add somebody to a conversation. Sound good? So we're going to add it to our conversations here. We're going to have conversation/ID/add. Like this. Add. Maybe call it add-user. Okay. So this is going to be a post request. It's going to take in a user ID from the request.body. So we're going to send the user's ID that we want to add in. So let's have a think about this. Oh, we actually do want that previous line. So we want to look up the conversation. If there's no conversation, we're going to throw an error. Then what we want to do is go conversation dot, remember this syntax here, add. Now the reason why we can do this, just to recap, is because we've created the relationship. In conversation belongs to many users. So what this does is it sets up this relationship to do this. That's how we're able to do this. Remember, we're also doing this in the sign up, creating the new conversation. We add the user who created the conversation to the conversation itself. That's this part here. So we've got add users or user, and it's going to be the user ID, just like this. And then return. Let's just return. What should we return from this? Data. Cool. Okay, so let's try this. Let's give this a go. Now, what we can also do in our seed, let's extend our seed a little bit. So in our seed file, why don't we, for each user that it creates, why don't we also create a conversation for that user. Const user equals user.data. What are we getting back from that? Exact format. Okay. I just realized something. What realistically we should be doing with all API responses is wrapping them inside a data attribute. Data, because that also allows us to pass in errors. So instead of just returning straight data like this, right? Typically, what you see done is it's wrapped inside a larger object, and then you might have data like this. And the reason why is because then you can have extra information. You might have, say, message, right? Successfully signed up. You might, and you might want to put that into the UI or something. You might actually fail. So instead of saying data, you might actually send back an error and say the data is null. And the error might be this, right? Now already exists. So in a real API, I probably should have done this, so I do apologize, team. You should be wrapping it like this. But for what we're doing, we're just going to keep it simple. But does that kind of make sense? Why we need to do this? Just to illustrate for you guys. I might put this in Slack. Make sure to wrap your data in APIs. Slack is broken. What's going on, Slack? Okay. I'll just paste it in here like this. You guys get the idea. Okay, so user.data.id is the user ID. And I'm going to create a conversation. So do the same thing here. Create user. Create a conversation for that user. So we're just going to duplicate this. Combo equals host/conversations, I think it was. Yep. And it takes in a name, just a name. The name is going to be faker dot why don't we say name dot doesn't really matter. It's just some random name. Just say company name for now. The important thing to do as well with this is it needs to take in the API. We need to log in. Okay, this might be harder than I thought. Okay, let's leave this for now. Apologies, team. We can do that. We can do that later, but it'll just take a bit of time to set up the authentication and log in and all that sort of stuff. We can do that if we have time at the end. Okay, where were we? So we're adding a user. So let's try this. If we go into our users and grab a random ID, Amia. All right. Come into here. We've got conversations. So we'll just list out this conversation, duplicate this, say add user to conversation. Conversations. It's going to be a post request. Body is JSON. It's going to be user ID. This is who we're adding in. Then the ID of the conversation is going to be this. So currently, if we have a look at our user conversations joining table, there's only one person that belongs to one conversation. So after this, we should have two. Let's see if this works. Cannot post. Conversations add dash user. Do not have permissions. I log in. Just try creating a new conversation. And we'll use this ID. Great, so that works. So we should have a couple of entries in here. Yeah, great. So we can now successfully add a user to, what if we try running this again? This might give us an error. No, that works. And this shouldn't change. Great. So we can successfully add a user to a conversation. So what we have to do is add this into our React client. So why don't we just commit that little bit there? And we'll just undo this. So we'll say feature API added add user combo API endpoint. That is on Git for you guys to use. Okay, so the next part is doing this in the UI. So when I click on this, right, we've already got the user ID. We've already got the conversation ID from the URL. So all we need to do is just call this API endpoint right here. So it should be pretty easy for us. So in our add here, we also have to go into our API client. We say conversation here, add user to combo. We'll say combo ID, and we'll say user ID. Conversations, combo ID. It's going to be a post request / add user. And then user ID, just like that. That should actually just be it. So let's try this. We want to do it on click. So on this LI, we're going to say on click equals. And we want to say add user. We want to pass in the user dot ID like this. We want to say const add user. string. Excuse me. Now, in here, we want to call API.add user to convo. So remember getting the conversation ID. Let's have a look at our convo page. Remember we use this this format here. So the use params. So we're going to copy this out to the same thing. Just so we can get the conversation ID from the URL. Actually, you know what? Let's do it differently. Let's actually add it as a property to add user to convo model. So say React.functional component. It takes in a convo ID as a property. Convo ID. Convo ID and the user ID. To await this. Great. And then the last thing we need to do is just add that property into our modal. So convo ID equals, what do we call that? Params.conversation ID. I dumped over a couple of things there, but does that kind of make sense, team? What we just did there? We added a property to the modal. So we're passing that in. Just saying whenever we add a user inside this modal, we're going to add it with this conversation ID. It's just a nicer way of handling it. I didn't really want to read it from the URL parameter because you might be on for example, in a different context where you're not on that page, but you still want to add that user to the conversation. So this just allows us to control that with a property. It's a bit more flexible. Great, let's give it a whirl. Refresh the page, check our network tab, say Wilfred. So I just clicked, add user, response true. Fantastic. Now if we come down here, go to user conversations, we should see 4. Excellent. Let's try and add another person. Let's try and say Jeffrey. This should now have 5. Excellent. So that is now working, team. We now have this working, which is excellent. Do we have any questions on this so far?
Yes, I have one question. So when you clicked on one of the item, it made 2 requests. Add user.
Great question. Great question. So you'll notice one of them is a head request. One of them is the actual request.
Okay.
A head request is kind of the browser touching base and saying, hey, does this API or does this URL actually exist? So, sorry, not a head request. It's an options request. So it's kind of checking to see. Let's have a look. Let's actually have a look what it says officially. Options. Used to describe the communication options for the target resource. It's to find out which request methods a server supports. So it's kind of doing it's like a pre-flight check that Chrome does or any browser does to check the API or wherever you're going.
Okay, so it's kind of like checking the endpoint.
Checking any URL. So okay. it actually does this with every URL.
Okay, so it only checks the URL and not the user. Let's say if the user exists.
No, it's not doing anything on the database. Okay. It's just kind of touching base and saying, hey, do you exist?
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks.
That's a good question though. Yeah. What other questions do we have? Cool. All right, let's pause for about 5 minutes. We'll come back at about 10 past 12, and then we'll work on how we close this modal, and we'll get into the WebSockets, back into the WebSockets, because now we can add users, which is good. So I'll be back in just 5 minutes. Past 12.
That was a fun lecture.
Okay.
Hello, Tristan.
How we doing?
Doing great.
Any questions? Anything you guys want to know about?
Hey, Tristan. It's Dwayne here.
Hey, man.
For next week, what about creating a booking app? Something where you could log in and whatever asset resource, you could basically share it amongst a group of people, but for a limited time. And like incorporate using like a plugin like full calendar.io, something like that. So you could have like a visual of, the calendar and when that asset is, free or being used by somebody else.
Oh, I see.
So kind of like a hotel room booking app type of deal, but
yeah, I mean, you could have it for cars or hotel rooms. Or
exactly, anything. Somebody's bike,
yeah,
the neighborhood bike or neighborhood.
The neighborhood bike.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's certainly a possibility. I kind of want to do something a little bit different to what we're currently doing, because that requires a lot of very similar technology.
What type of technologies are you thinking about incorporating?
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm putting it out there. I kind of want to keep it different, because that would require. It's basically a standard CRUD application, which is kind of what we're doing here. So, I like the idea of having a game, potentially, depending on what type of game it is. I want to keep it small as well. I feel like this webinar has gotten a little bit too big. So I want to keep it a little bit more manageable and a little bit more beginner friendly. Not beginner, but I think I tried to incorporate a little bit too much into this webinar with TypeScript and various other things. So I'll try and make it a little bit simpler. So yeah, I think a game might be fun. I want it to be something that people are going to use in their day-to-day jobs as well. So it's relevant to people and that actually gives you skills that you can use in your real job. And yeah, probably try and keep it a little bit shorter. Like 4 weeks is a long time for a webinar. And for new people that come along, like even today, new people that come along, it's kind of challenging because they're like, all right, well, I have to follow up on 4 weeks worth of content to be up to scratch. Susie says, what about a React Native game? Maybe something we can put on the App Store. That sounds fun. React Native is challenging. Mobile phones, to be honest, I'd prefer to make a game for the browser than mobile. I don't have a lot of mobile experience. So, and the other problem with it is to get mobile working properly, you need to download all these different development frameworks, and they're really buggy, and there's different versions. And I'm worried about you guys because what works on my machine on a Mac is not guaranteed to work on a Linux machine, or you can't download Xcode for Windows, or all these kinds of problems. So it makes emulators really heavy as well. Yeah, thanks to Moya. Yeah, so I think, Frankie, that's a better idea, is to make a web app, like a game. We can make a game. I'm liking the idea of a game. And we can make it a progressive web application. So that's a really useful skill in itself, learning how to build PWA. So we could even, if we wanted to, I could even build it with web components, and I could show you guys web components, which is an alternative to React. That's just fancy though. It's up to you guys. If we build a game, it mostly will not be HTML. It'll mostly be something like, depending on what game we build, like 3JS or Paper.js or one of these JavaScript game frameworks.
I have a quick question that I want to ask as well.
Yeah.
For the future, I don't have an Apple product. I have Windows, but would it be better to develop under Ubuntu or just continue with Windows?
That's kind of like saying, what food should I eat to be healthy? It depends on you. I can't answer that question for you. It depends on A, what frameworks you're working with, B, your preferred style of development, C, your preferred style of I don't know, things like security, or do you want to have your hand held? Like there's so many variations on that there's no one answer. I personally I grew up on Windows and I hated Mac. I just thought, it was just a terrible operating system. I'd never used it. I just like to crap on it. And then I used one. Then I bought one and used one. And I would never develop on anything else, personally. But that's just me. Other people swear by Windows and they say, I really don't like Mac, and Mac is a terrible interface for developing. It really comes down to personal preference. There's no objective better or worse. It really comes down to how you like to develop and what you value. I'd say like Linux, there's more on the side of customizing things. So if you want to get a really custom operating system and get into the nitty gritty of things, you know, you can do that really well with Linux. I find Mac is kind of like a nice balance of the two, in that it has a very, very powerful backend, like Bash and whatnot, but it also has a really nice intuitive UI, and it's a lot more stable. That's just me personally. It comes down to what you value.
Hey Tristan, we're just on the topic of talking about making a game, a web game. So at the beginning, you were talking about for our learning platform, we're going to make like a Duolingo type of platform where you're learning to code.
Yes.
But it's like a gamified learning. So what kind of technologies do you envision?
It's a great question. Let me load up Figma. For those who are not familiar with what we're doing, I want to show you. Just letting it load. All right. Okay, so this is what we are envisioning for code mentoring. It's not completed. This is the idea, right? It's very similar to Duolingo. I think I actually have an account with these guys. Let me do this on Chrome because I'm not logged in. So it's a good question. You know, choosing the right gaming framework it's not an easy choice, because it really depends on what type of game you're planning on building. Not sure why my internet's so slow. Seems to be Duolingo's not working. Okay. Oh, here we go. It's just very slow. So you can see what we're doing is very, very similar to Duolingo. Duolingo, for those who aren't aware, is for learning languages. So, you know, you can choose, there's a whole bunch of courses that you can do, and it's completely free. So that's kind of the approach that we're taking with this, but learning how to code. So instead of learning spoken languages, you'll be learning coding languages. So you can add and it's very similar to, we highly recommend looking into.
I like that. It's the Duolingo for coding languages.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
At the moment, what we're telling you guys to do is looking into Free Code Camp. And we like Free Code Camp. It's been great for us. But there's been some problems with it. Specifically, the way they teach is kind of textbook. And it doesn't really, it's not very memorable content. And a lot of people come away from this going, all right, well, what do I do now? So we're going to take a completely new approach to how we teach, and it's actually how we teach at code mentoring in general, specifically on days like Wednesday. It's a strong focus around storytelling. So we want each of these modules to actually be its own story and its own metaphor that's memorable and that is kind of funny, and it allows you to remember concepts at a deeper level than just reading through more textbook content. And we're going to gamify it. So we're going to make it really, really fun, which is the nature of Shane's question, which is what framework will we be using for this platform. For this one, to be honest, there's not a lot of it's not really a game that requires a lot of crazy animations or anything. For example, I built this game, which is kind of like a music generation tool. So you guys can't hear that, but if you play the keyboard, you can create different sounds, you can change things and whatnot. And this is actually all just built in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. There's no game framework here. For the sound, I used Toner.js or Tone.js. This is a really good sound library for creating music inside the browser. So that's kind of what I use this for.
Okay, so the base is just HTML, CSS, and vanilla JavaScript, right? And then specific libraries, like for the sound, you just take a specific library for that.
Yeah, so
you need it, you plug it in.
It depends. I think it depends what kind of game we're building. Like this is kind of a standard website looking game. Like there's gamified elements to it, but it's not like you've got a character and you're moving around and you don't need to use the HTML canvas for this. Right. So, you know, it depends what kind of game we want to look into. If we're building tic-tac-toe, we don't need a game framework. If we're building a scrolling game, right, like a side scroll game like Flappy Birds or Mario or you know, one of these kinds of games, we would definitely need some kind of framework for it.
But that's great.
So
Great lowdown. So basically, you got to break down the game to what type of game it is.
Yep.
And then it's like if it's something that's gamified, but it's actually more of like just a normal website.
Yeah.
It could be very standard technologies, right? You
Yes.
don't even need to go into really advanced gaming technologies.
I mean, HTML and CSS are already a very good view layer. You know,
right?
It's very good at creating user interfaces. So why not use it? Cool.
Great.
That's a good question. Any other questions? Cool. All right, let's go ahead and continue on. So does anybody notice a problem with this screen?
Yes, the blue background.
The blue background? What's the problem with the blue background? I like it.
You like it?
We can't hide it right now.
So how do we close the modal? Right?
Maybe an X icon on the
Yep. So we'll need an X.
If we click outside the white the model, it gets closed.
Yep, precisely. All of these things. So let's have an X that we're gonna use to close it. So I'm gonna get an icon. For anyone who wants icons, this is an excellent resource. Nounproject.com. SVG icons. I'm gonna type close. We should get a little close icon like this. Great. I'm logged in, so I can download it. I think you guys might have to sign up for it. It's free. It's completely free. All right, so let's bring this into our code. Got a little SVG thing here. Just remove some of this stuff. Don't need that. I've got a program inside a plugin inside VS Code that says minify SVG. So I'm just going to run that minify SVG. There we go. This text. Actually, this is going to be a problem because it does have a little bit of a text thing on it. So I'm just going to load this up into Figma. Just so it's nice and square. Where are we? Okay. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's good. Just gonna grab this. Gonna go copy as SVG. Great. Okay, so that's our little SVG icon. In fact, I'm just going to turn this into a little React component really quickly. So change this into, let's put this under source components, say icon. Create a folder called icons. Realistically, you guys would use an icon framework, but I think we're only going to have one icon here, so we'll just keep it simple. Okay, so keep it simple. Icon close. Let's just leave it at that for now. We'll keep it very simple. And in the modal, now we're not going to the add user modal, we're going to the modal itself. And we're going to have, let me think about this. We want to, I think that takes a React node. I wonder if this will work. Just testing something here. Okay, that does work. Excellent. So what this means is we can actually put in some content here. So we might have, say, the header. We might have the content of the modal, like this. And then we might give this a title. So let's actually create an interface. So go interface modal props. Grab this class name we have here. Also have a title. We'll go into the modal props. Then in here we'll have h2. This.props.title. Then we'll have the icon close. Just like that. Great. And now here, this should have a title. So we'll remove this h2 from here. We'll put that instead here. That makes sense, guys? We just changed that structure around just a little bit. Just in case we have other modals and whatnot, they all sort of follow the structure of having the header and the content. Oh, we also need to have the children. Children. Before what we were doing was just rendering the children directly, but now we're actually wrapping it inside some stuff. Great. So we need to make this look a little bit nicer. So let's go in here, we're going to header. So the header, we want to put these things side by side. So just go h2 display inline block, so it sits next to each other. Actually, what I'm going to do instead is go display flex, the header, so they'll sit next to each other, and then now they're nice and aligned in the center. And then on the SVG, I'm just going to go margin left 2 rem, a little bit of space. Okay, that's breaking it. Why is that breaking it? Margin left. There we go. And then I'm going to decrease the size, so say width to them. Okay, so we've got an issue with our SVG. Who can tell me how to fix this problem? Anybody have any idea how to fix this? Make SVG smaller. So that's what we've done, Sherry. We actually have made this smaller. See, the problem is, as I make this smaller, it gets cut off. Can you see that?
Can you smaller the width and height of the SVG?
I can change the height, but I don't want to change the height. I want to make it responsive.
Okay, responsive.
All right. Actually, no, I can change the height, and it makes it even worse. All right.
Can you raise it up in Z?
Can I raise it up?
Yeah, via the Z.
Nope. No, it's not. It's not a Z index problem.
Okay.
So Tomoya said scale. How do we scale? Make SVG smaller, scale, position relative. No. So unfortunately, this is a trick, right? Now this is something for you guys to learn and to know. This is an important trick. In SVG, we have specifically set the width and the height, haven't we? We're going to change this. This is just something that you need to remember.
We can change it in the SVG file scope. Okay, yeah.
Yep. So we're going to change SVG. Now, instead of using width and height, we're going to use something called the view box. Now that is the problem with this. Is the box, the actual, what we're viewing is incorrect. So we're going to go 0, 0 to start from the top, 0, 0, and then it's going to be the width and the height. So 27, 27. Remove this, and that will fix our problem. Hopefully. Sorry, I edited the SVG, not the React. And there we go. Now, if we change this, it automatically does what we need it to. So that is the trick, guys. If you ever see width and height on it, you have to change it to a view box with the width and the height like this. All right, I'll put this in Slack for you. We're following format of 0, 0, width, height. That's just a trick, you guys. Trick of the trade. All right. Then the last thing we need to do is just change the color of it. We'll do that inside our Modal CSS. So SVG, I'm going to color the path. So path, fill. And here's another trick that you can do inside SVGs. Has anybody heard of a thing called current color inside CSS? Does anybody know what this is?
No.
So it's a special property that actually allows you to inherit the color of the existing, when you set the color. So this here has the color blue that we've set specifically, right? Now, this automatically inherits this, but what if you're using a property that isn't color? Right, what if it's background? Right, we can say background black, and that's fine. background white. But what if we set background to current color? See here? It actually sets it to the color that we've set. I'm not changing background here, guys. I'm changing the color. So current color is a really cool way of inheriting the color, the standard the font color. So what I like to do inside my SVGs is I like to add on all the paths, right? I have to fill current color. So that way, what we can do is on the SVG, we can just go color, red. Just like we would do with text. It's pretty cool, right? It's a little hack for you. You can do that with many, many things. That's a good one for icons. And also if you put them inside the content, for example, if I put this close inside the H2 like this, it'll be blue. Like that. Because it's inheriting the color automatically. Pretty cool. What do you think? I thought that was pretty cool when I first learned that. But in our case, we're just going to go color, set it to gray. Okay, so we actually need to close this when we click this, don't we? So we'll add a cursor pointer, because I know Susie's going to get angry at me if I don't. Just kidding, Susie. And then if we click this, we want to close this modal. So how are we going to do that? Let's have a look. I forget how to do that from React class. I think it's just React component destroy. If anyone remembers, I forget exactly. React delete. Let's just try to play with it. This dot remove.
Sorry, Tristan, just quick question.
Yep.
I thought you created or added a class to this to open and close it, right? So it would be like removing the open.
We did, but that's just the visual. We actually want to remove it from the DOM entirely.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for clearing that.
All right. What we're gonna do instead is we're actually gonna have the onClose. All right. Just gonna take a function and it's required. It's just gonna return nothing. So this is a required property of modal. And when we click on the icon, on click, we don't have that. Let's just call this. That's fine. We'll just wrap it in a div. We'll be lazy. Forgive my laziness, team. On click equals this dot props dot on close. So when we click on the icon, it should close the modal. It will call this on close. So we actually have to pass that down 2 layers. So this modal is expecting an onClose. So onClose equals, and we're actually going to pass this onClose as well. The same thing. It's a little bit convoluted. Cool. So still has that old one, doesn't it? Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. Wrong place. Add user to modal props. This out, make it easier for us to read. OnClose and convert ID. Yep. And then onClose. So we're just passing that down 2 layers. So this passes it to the modal, and then the conversation itself requires it. This is what we're going to do. We're actually going to have a state. So we're going to say use state, adding user, right? And it's going to be false. Now this is going to have onClose equals set adding user to false. So when we click on it, we want to set this back to false, and we only want to show this modal if the adding user is true. Okay? Does that make sense, team? So we're only going to show the modal if we're adding a user, and then when we click the X, it's going to set the adding user back to false again. Therefore, it will close this modal. Now, there's an inherent problem with what we've just done. What is it? Someone tell me. Well, how do we add a user now? All right, we've got to have that. We've got to have a button or something saying add users. So in our header, let's just make this a bit easier to read. Where do we have our header? Right here. Create conversation, header, conversation main. We'll just have a button. It's probably going to look pretty ugly. Yep. Where is that brace coming from? There it is. So why don't we just set this to a span to try and make it look a little bit nicer. That'll do. And we'll add a space to just to create a bit of separation. No, okay, it's fine. We'll just style that. Now in here, we'll say onClick equals, I'm going to do the opposite of this. Right, opposite of this. So we're going to open the modal. Set this to true. When we click on the span, we want to open the modal.
You got a question on the chat there?
Yep, just looking at it now. One button to show only when you have created a new conversation. That is correct. That is correct. So if we're creating a new conversation, oh, you're saying only when we're creating a new conversation? I'm only going to do this for now. Like, I'm just going to keep it simple in that it's only showing on an existing conversation. Creating a new conversation, you just create it, and then once you're in there, you can just click add users. You can probably find a better way to do that, but yeah. Okay. Under the header, just going to style the span. Gray. Margin left 1R. Display line block. Also, there's a point out for Susie. I don't know why I'm saying it's for Susie now, but it is. Sorry, Susie. Cool. Okay, so click on add users. Boom. Pops up with the modal. And if we close it, closes down. So that is how we get that to work, team. Any questions on adding a modal and hiding a modal? I do. Well, it's an important thing, Susie, right? Like hovering over something and not having a thing is like, well, can I click on it? I don't know. Can I click on it? So it's just those little user experiences that really make things better. Speaking of which, we've actually got some weird CSS bug scrolling thing, which we can fix up later. But that should be working now, team. So let's just review what we've done. We added this close icon. Remember the view box. We added the CSS to the modal header. We did a little bit of refactoring for the properties. We added the onClose, and then we added a little bit of structure around the modal. We added the add user to convo API in the client. What else did we do? Did a little bit of refactoring on the properties for the modal with the onClose. Did some styling for opening the modal. And we added a simple set state for whether the modal is open or not. Cool. So feature client added close modal. So that is all on GitHub for you guys. So that brings us to the next part, the more interesting part. I know we're sort of running out of time now, so I do apologize. I said we'd get to Susie's stuff. Susie, do you want to do yours, or do you want to do WebSockets? You tell me. WebSockets. All right. Are you still experiencing problems? Did you manage to get that bug solved, or? Yeah, same thing. Okay. And just remind me, what was that? Was it a Mongo connection? Was a database connection? What was the error?
Okay, I'm gonna talk then.
yeah. Be a bit easier.
So locally it works fine, but after deploying, I'm having a course problem first to get the messages.
Okay.
And then when I send a message, the message is going as null. So I have a problem with the ID being null, and I'm trying to map over it.
Okay. That sounds like a pretty specific problem. I can look into that a bit later with you privately if you want.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's try and get the WebSockets working. So let's think about what we need to do here. The first part is joining a room. So Socket.io has a concept of rooms, which is very analogous to different conversations. Let's have a look. Rooms and namespaces. So Dwayne, you were talking about some of this stuff earlier today. This is what this is. So by default, it sends to everybody. However, we want to create a specific namespace. So how are we going to do this? Let's think about this. Why don't we say, let's write this out. So the first part is client next to the API. This is in sockets, right? Second thing is it tells API what room it wants to join. Third thing is the API sets up room if it doesn't exist. This is an optional step. It tells the client it's ready. Client joins the specific room. And when I'm talking about room, guys, I'm talking about these conversations. So each conversation will be its own room. And then client sends message to room. API sends message to other people. Other people update their UI. So that's kind of what we're going to do, if that makes sense. Do we have any questions on what we're about to do? Any questions on how we're going to do this? Okay, great. So just so you guys can follow along, I'll put this in Slack. Okay, so the first part, I'm pretty sure this is correct. If anyone's used Socket.io extensively, let me know. I'm pretty sure this is the right way to do it. Yeah, join some room. Yeah.
I used it a bit, and that's how I got it from their site as well. That's how I used it.
Yeah, I think this makes sense. Okay, so let's get started. Socket on the client. This is client side. So we're going to go admin socket.on connection. Or can we just do admin socket.join? No. Sock. What is this? Any. Let me have a look. .2. Maybe that's what it is. No. Well, it seems like it's the right way to do it. See if I've got some types. Socket. There we go. Right. Okay, maybe not. Okay. Doesn't look like I have types for it, which is kind of crap. Makes it a bit harder to know what we're working with, but we'll manage. Sock.join. Join somewhere. Oh no, the first thing is we're sending, right? We're sending that. We might be able to do this once in the same step. Let's have a look. What does this give us back? confusing, isn't it? Hmm. On connection, on disconnect. Namespace of IO of. No. Don't make this easy. Default on connection. Let's just try this. Some room. Maybe it's because we're in the client join room. There's no join on the client side. Rooms are purely server side. Okay. The first code block is desired. You send the server a message of your desire, asking it to join the room, and the join is executed on the server side. Okay. So, okay. Let's just undo this then. I'll just say join. Let's export a function. So export const function join. Say conversation ID. Join. I don't really know what I'm doing, guys. So just experimenting. I'm as lost as you are. So we're just going to send. This is what we did before. All right, we're sending a connection. So let's actually hook this up to our page, convert page. All right. It's getting a bit unwieldy, isn't it? Use effect, load initial data. Why don't we send it our initial socket connection here?
Hey, just a quick one. So did you finish with the web app when we're looking at some problems that we had, or are we still adding something to it?
We're adding the sockets. So that when we send a message, it sends it automatically to somebody else without them having to refresh the page.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I remember we did sockets at the beginning, so that was just setting up the connection. And then
we actually removed it because we didn't get it working, and then Tomoya merged in some stuff for the connection actually did working.
Right.
So now what we're trying to do is to hook it up so that when we actually send, we're hooking it up to the UI.
Okay.
Yeah. So why don't we have here join room. Join room. It's going to be params.conversation ID. Let's just do something very, very basic. So this should still be logging. Okay. Got a connection. Causing some problems for us. I'm not sure why this keeps crashing. It's very annoying. I'm just going to run node dist index for now, just so we don't keep getting these annoying errors. Okay, great. So we've got this join. This is what we expected. This is on the server side, guys. So what's this thing saying? Purely on server side. So if we go onto the sockets on server, on message, socket dot join. I don't understand how this works on the server side. I thought this was more of a client thing. I guess not. So let's just do, let's say that every message that we send is going to have the name or the type of thing that we're doing, a colon, and then some data. Let's just say that, just so it's a standard interface. So we'll say const equals, so say method, and then data equals message dot split. We'll split down the middle between the colon. We could probably do a better thing with regex, but that's fine. Do it for now. So say log method and data, just so we can check that they're working. Move this. Not sure why that API dev isn't working, so we'll just run it manually. TypeScript -p watch. So it keeps building. Okay, restart the server. This should, hopefully, when we load this, should tell us join and then the name of that. So just split, yep. So that worked, which is good. So that means what we can do is go switch method, case join. Just have all of our, let's just, okay. So this is going to be s dot socket dot join, and then the data is the name of the bird. So let's see if this works. Refresh. Go to WebSockets. I really don't know why we can't see. Okay, here we go. So it's sending that. So why don't we try something where once it's got this, you go set timeout. Say after a second, go socket.to data dot emit. So we're sending something from the server. Specific room data. See if this works. Fingers crossed. So refresh. And then WebSocket. No. Okay. Yeah, this is not getting easy, is it? Admin socket.on. Somebody said something in the chat. Do you need to log in? No. No, we do not. This is quite confusing. Okay, here we go. Socket.emit room. Okay. There we go. This might be the problem. Try this. On message. Okay, socket on, connection on, room, socket.join. Okay, this looks more promising, team. Let's comment this out. Just log joining room. Now it's easy to send a message to all clients. Excellent. We'll try this. Set timeout. Do the same thing. We'll send a message. What is going on, party people? That works. Socket.in room emit. Send this 1 second after we join the room. And then on the client, we need to have the message. Okay, let's see if this works. Fingers crossed. Joining room. And nothing. Why didn't that work? Why isn't that sent? We're getting closer. We're getting closer. Can anybody see if I'm missing something here? Where are you getting the room? We're getting that from when we join the room from here, the conversation ID. So it is joining the room, and that is working. That is correct. So this is on the API. But for some reason it's not. Let me try the two room. No. Very confusing. What is the issue here? We're so close, guys. We're so close. Try this. Socket stop. Listen so. What is that? It's an IO. So try this. Hopefully this works. Nope. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Oh my goodness. That was what it was. I had 2 M's. Spelling error team. The joys of web development. Hey, all right, we got it working, team. It's working. I do apologize.
Nice.
This new Mac keyboard is a bit of a problem sometimes. Or rather, it's the old Mac keyboard now. All right, good. It's working. So we can join a room. We'll get a message. Let's get rid of all this crap. Okay. Excellent. So we're going to export a function here. Say export const message room. This is going to be the message. We have a message class, right? Yes. Great. All right, we're moving forwards, team. We're moving forwards. All in the nick of time. Okay, so what we're going to do is this exact same thing here we've got. Move this. Great. Message. So this is going to be server equals S. So we can use it in here. This is going to the message.id. No, sorry, message. Let's put in the conversation. Convo ID and the message. Convo ID, and this is going to emit the message to JSON, just like that. Fantastic. Okay. Now what we need to do is when we create a message, here, where we post, we also want to send this message room. We've already got the conversation ID. And then we just simply post this message like that. So that should hopefully work. Cool. So let's test this. Let's test this. I'm gonna put this to one side. I'm gonna open up a new one. Put this to the other side. I'm gonna sign in with a different user. So let's say we add Joker. We've got 2 Jokers here. I'm gonna delete my database and just refresh, just so we know that everything's coming from the right place. So rebuild all my data just to test everything. Taking its time. Okay, great. So let's use these last 2 emails. So This will be our first one. Secret is the password. Great. A new conversation, we'll call it test. Okay. We still have some problems. What's the problem? Do not have permission. I thought we'd already added that in. Let's try this again. Secret. All right, new token, test. I guess not. So it seems like when we're creating these conversations, we're not adding ourselves to them. Which is a problem. So let's work out, let's debug this. This should not be happening right now. Start, refresh. A new conversation. Okay, that worked. Not sure why that didn't work before. Now it's working. Maybe we just needed the server restart. Okay, cool. So this is working. We'll bring up our console. This is our second one. So we're going to log in with the second email. This one here. The problem that we have is we don't know who this user is. So in our seed, we're going to also log out the, so I'm going to go first, sorry team, just doing a little bit of debugging just to try and get everything working. Push the user instead, just so we get the. Because remember, in our searching, we can't search by email, so we had to restart everything. Refactor. Start this again. This should hopefully list out all the users and their names, just so we know who to look up. Your searching endpoint should actually take in the email, but we haven't configured that. Here we go. So let's log in with this person. Just delete our token in here. Okay, first person, secret. Create a conversation, test, create. Okay, that's working. Second person, this person here, /login. Email, secret is the password. They need to be added to this conversation. So what are they called? I know Bode. It's a terrible name. There we go. Add person. so they can access this. Now, here is the game changer team. Fingers crossed. Who's ready? Who is ready?
I am. Let's do it.
All right, let's try something. Hi, I know. And it works. Here we go, team. We have it working. I expect a full round of applause. Thank you, thank you. No, I'm kidding, but that's good, right? The next thing is obviously to just show that in the UI, but we do have this working now. After much delay, and we still have 40 minutes left. So let's quickly get this done. So I'm very happy with this. What we need to do is listen on here. Yeah, we need to, let's just close all this down. See what we've done so far. So we're listing out the emails and the users, everything, not just the name of the user. We've done some socket fixing. So thank you for everyone for your help on helping me debug this. We've got conversations. We don't need that. That was a strange bug. Messages. So now when we create a message, it messages the room. Sockets on the client side. This needs to be hooked up. This is what we're going to do next. And then the conversation page is we're now also joining the room when we load the message or the conversation. So feature sockets working. Very happy about this, team. So the next part is to show this message once it updates. Now remember, in our, are we using a container for conversation? No, we're not. So we're gonna have to do the same thing with the conversation. So see how we use the unstated next for the container around these the conversation list. We're going to create a conversation a message container for all the messages. So messages. Okay, this is going to be a message. So get messages. We probably don't need this. I don't think. Let's just leave it in here for now. I think this requires the ID of the conversation. So ID string is the conversation ID. Cool. So the messages is going to be a state. And it's going to be an object. So an object of the conversation ID, and then the messages associated to that conversation ID. So it's going to be convo, so key, the string. And then it's going to be a list of messages. Okay.
Tristan, can you explain this part key string messages?
Yep. So let me break this out into its own type. Interface messages. So what this is doing in TypeScript is just saying this key here, right? Key is the conversation convo ID.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be, so in practicality, what this might look like is, say, conversation ID, this one here, right? And then it's going to be an array
of
messages.
Okay.
Message 1, message 2.
Yeah.
So that's what, and then you'll have another message, right?
Okay.
Another conversation ID, and so on and so forth. So that's what this is.
Okay, perfect.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm rushing a little bit, please tell me to slow down. Okay, so load messages for the conversation, and then it's going to be set messages. So it's going to be messages, going to be object dot assign messages, and then it's going to be convo. Let me think about this. So we want to override it with the convo ID and the new conversation messages. So what this is doing is this is saying just update all the messages with a new conversation ID and the messages that we've loaded in. So when we load a conversation, load messages in convo, just to make that very clear. Messages. We'll also need to create message. And this is going to be the convo ID and then the text. This is going to be api.create message. And what does this take? Conversation ID and also the content. So text. Let's just rename that content just to be the same. Convo ID. And then that's it. I think that's all we need to do. Let me turn the convo. Message. Don't worry, I'll paste all this stuff up for you guys in a sec. We'll put it on GitHub. Now, here's the tricky thing. This is what we actually need to do. Is we need to listen for new messages on this socket. Right. So admin socket. You need to export this. We're going to put this here. So admin socket. Well, that's not automatically imported. So admin socket on message. And what we're going to do is we want to grab the message conversation ID. And let's update this message because it hasn't got enough information on it. Conversation ID. And also the content. What have we got here? Conversation ID, content. Okay. What we want to do is we want to update this messages here when the new one comes in. And we want to check to see if this already exists, if the conversation with that ID exists. And if it doesn't exist, we need to add it in. So we're going to go set messages. This is the existing messages. Okay. So if messages m.conversation ID, so if there's already this in here, if there's already messages that exist, let me just think about the logic behind this for a second. So if this already exists, you want to return object const messages equals this. This is what's already existing. If this doesn't exist, say it's this or it's just a array. So if it's the first message in the conversation. Now we want to say convo.push the new message, so m. And then we want to update it. So return object.assign messages. And then also messages. And then this is going to be the same thing that we did up here. So convo ID is the m.conversation ID, and that's going to be correct. So if we want to, let's create a little utility function, just so it doesn't get confusing. Const add message to convo equals convo ID and the message. We'll just do we'll just do this. And then load messages, we'll just say that's fine. We'll just leave it as it is. And then in here we'll go add message to convo m. M.conversation ID and m. Okay, so I've covered a few things there. You guys can have a look over this code. Actually, that's not even needed, is it? You guys can have a look over this code, but it should be pretty self-explanatory. We're just updating this. The real part is when we get into the UI update. So let's go into our. Remember, we need to. This is a container with the provider in React context. So we need to do this. We need to do the same thing we did with conversations. Provide the context. So here we're going to have messages. Provider. Just so we make it available. If you guys remember that. Okay, so let's load up the conversation page. Now we've got the messages here. This is the old way that we did it. So we're actually going to remove this. And we're going to remove the update messages, get messages, update conversation. I forget what that was doing. Ah, yeah, that was just loading the initial conversation. We're going to remove this, And we're going to handle all of that through the container. And then we also had the, yeah, that's fine. We'll do this for now. Messages. So we're going to allow load it from the container. Use container. Const messages equals this. And we want to get the messages for this particular conversation. So that's going to be use effects. Const messages equals messages effects. And if the messages change, remember messages is an object. Right? It's not the individual messages for this conversation, it's the object of conversation. So messages and the convo ID. Conversation ID. We just want to return. Use memo. Remember, use memo returns something. So it's just going to return messages with their params dot conversation ID. So just to recap what we did there, right? We're no longer, because before what we were doing is we were interfacing with the API directly in the conversations page. So we were interfacing with the API directly. We're not doing that anymore because we're doing everything through the container because we want it to update automatically. So we're just moving it over to this messages format here. All right, convo messages. We come down here and we just change that to convo messages. Okay. Then we also need to change the way we update. So on new message, I don't think we need this anymore because this is automatically going to be handled for us by the container and the sockets. So I think we can actually go ahead and remove this.
Hey Tristan, it's kind of difficult to read your screen. Is it possible you can just zoom in a bit?
If I zoom in anymore, it'll make it a bit hard to code.
Oh, all right. No worries then.
I can try. I might just make a few errors. I'll adjust. Is this better?
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay.
So we just removed this on new message because we don't need to do that anymore. That's handled automatically through the containers. So let's go ahead and remove that from here on new message. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And get rid of that. And actually, this is not going to be the API anymore. This is going to be the same thing that we did with the, I'm going to use the container. This has a create message. It does. Just like that. Just so that we're not using the API in our components. Okay, so we've changed a lot of things here. Let's see if it works. Definitely not. We'll get some errors. Okay, so the problem here in this memo is this might return nothing. So we're just gonna, if that has nothing in it, we'll just return an empty list as a default. Okay. So there's currently nothing there. And then I think we need to load initial data. load messages in convo. Session ID. So just loading those messages in. And hopefully this should show. No. No, it doesn't. Let's have a look why. What we got? All right, so it is loading these messages. Must be a problem with our updating. So let's go into our container. I will push all this stuff up for you guys soon. Load conversations. Let's say messages. Load conversations in container. It's probably just a way we're handling our state update. So let's just log this. Log. I know I'm covering a lot of things here, so if I'm just going to create a live share. If anyone wants to join this, just because I'm covering a lot of ground, probably a little bit hard to follow. So feel free to join this collaborative session, just so you can copy the code. So let's see if these messages are being loaded. Yep, so it is being loaded. Set messages. Why don't we just log out the messages here? Remember, this is the object of all messages that we have access to. Okay, so it's not updating the messages. Why don't we just try a dirty hack for now? This should definitely work. Yeah, okay, so this is working. So it's just how we're updating that state. So why don't we try, instead of object assign, let's try it this way. And this out. Okay. Just so we can replace the state better. I think there was some problems with what we were doing. That's probably the same here too. Okay. Fingers crossed. Okay, great. So this is working. Now, if we send a message, it should hopefully show up on the other person's screen. It does. It shows up twice. Can anybody tell me? And when I refresh, it doesn't. So it's not actually sending the message twice. Right? I know why this is happening. Can anybody tell me? The answer lives in this code block here. Can anybody tell me why it's displaying the message twice? Where are you getting the room? Oh no, sorry. On update. Can you explain that a little bit more, Sherry? If you got a mic, say hello as well.
Hi, I just wanted to say, whenever you type something new, it's added to the conversation. So it thinks it's like another conversation it's adding to your end as well.
Actually, we removed that. So we're not doing any manually inserting of the conversation. That's all coming from sockets. So the trick actually
add message
is here.
Yeah, the add message.
Yeah. So remember, guys, this is a hook. So this actually potentially gets called multiple times. So we only ever want to do this once. I mean, remember the way we do that is use effect. And the use effect says only do it if we pass in an empty array, only do it the first time. Like this. In fact, what we should probably do is a better way. Is we should probably have a list of the rooms that we've joined. So const join. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine there. Yeah, let's just run this. Refresh. What's up? There we go. And that fixes that problem. There we go, team. That is sockets working for you. Right then and there. We have a problem in that we don't know who's talking. So why don't we just do a little bit of UI cleanup on the conversations page. And then we'll do a recap of everything. So in here, we want to go do we have our current user? When we log in, that's the trick that we need. Why don't we, for now, why don't we just say small we have to do some lookups. We might leave that for now, just because we'd have to start fetching users, and that'll start getting kind of big. I'm going to leave that as a challenge for you guys, because what you're going to need to do is show who's talking, and then if it's you talking, you need to put it on this side. So I'm gonna leave that for you guys to do. So let's try adding a new conversation. Another one. All right. We'll invite our good friend. What's his name? Eno Bode. Please don't call your child that. We probably need some kind of feedback system that this person has been added. So think about that in your own app. Now, if I refresh this, I should also get another one there. Great. Now, we might have an issue where if I'm on this conversation, no, we won't. We won't. Test. So it doesn't show up here, which is good. And then if I go to this one, it does. Hello. Perfect. So there's just there's a lot of things we can improve on with this, guys. As you can see, like building a proper application is not easy. There's a lot of things to consider. You've got security, you've got design, you've got debugging. There's so many different things. I'm gonna push all this code up. Let's just do a quick review. So remember, we add the provider for the messages. So add that in. We've added this messages container. So have a look over this code. If you're uncertain about what any of this is, let me know or ask on the chat. We've done the very simple sockets. Turns out it was easier than we thought. And thank you to Moya for getting that through. We've got we've updated the UI, so it's no longer pulling in from the API directly. It's using our containers. Someone chatting here. It would be possible to go through some troubleshooting for some of our code after. Yes, possibly, depending on the complexity. For some people, I might do it privately. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. What else do we do here? So we moved this over again to the container as well. So it's no longer interacting directly with the API from this send message component. So this is great. So we'll say feature client messages hooked to sockets. That's all on GitHub for you. So in review, guys, there's so many things that we could have done better. I learned a lot from this. I hope you guys did too. There's so much room for improvement in terms of feedback on this. Like when you add a person, the biggest one I think for me would be actually showing who's part of a conversation and who's sending the message. You could add, profile pictures. I think there's still a bug where any user has access to the list of conversations, so you can probably fix that up as well. I want to kind of leave it open for you guys. There's a lot we covered in these 5 weeks, and I really hope that you guys found it useful and beneficial, and that you learned a lot, and that you didn't get sick of hearing my voice and debugging. But thank you for coming on this journey with me the past 5 weeks. This was an experiment for me too. It's my first time I've ever run a webinar at all, and definitely a webinar of this length. So, I've learned a lot and how to give you guys better content as well for next time. So yeah, thank you all for your patience and your time and your debugging and your PR and thanks for being part of Code Mentoring. Honestly, you guys to get a little bit emotional. Like you guys make my week. This is my favorite. It's my favorite day of the week, and you give me meaning and purpose in a very dark time. So I think having this community for all of us in our own way, whether you're a mentor with us or whether you're just someone who's here to socialize, whether you have your mic on or whether you don't, we're all here for a reason. And I'm really grateful that we come here together each week to work on things. I really am, and just wanted to say thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking your personal time to help us out. We really did learn a lot.
Of course, that's what we're here for, and it's just the beginning, guys. Like this is the first of many things to come. As you guys know, we're building out our learning platform. We're building out the Duolingo. We're building out our own website. So if you guys want to practice your skills in real environments, let me know. Let us know that we need help. There's a lot of things to do that we need help on. And great, Susie. We'd love to have you on board, Susie. Really, there's so much work to do on design and on the website and on the app and anything else. If you guys have ideas, something I used to say a lot in the physical community, I don't say much here. This is not my community. Right? This is our community. This isn't something that I run or that Shane runs or that Frankie runs. This is something that we're all part of, and you are as much a part of this as I am. Without you, there's no reason for me to be here. So if you have something that you want to contribute, if you have an idea, if you want to step up to be a mentor and maybe run your own webinar one day, let us know, because this is as much your thing as it is ours.
So yeah, thanks, Tristan. Really enjoyed all these sessions, and especially those little tips that you give on the side. It's really helpful that you can take it to other projects. So really enjoyed it. And yeah, what's the way to be able to contribute to the website? I think it will be...
Great question. So are you talking about the learning app or are you talking about our marketing website?
The website.
Yeah. The website. So I've got to do some extra designs. So if you want to chat to me personally, I think the way to do it would be clone the project, and have a look, have a play around, spin it up yourself. It's using Next.js, so it's server-side rendered React.
Oh.
It's using Netlify CMS, which is essentially just pulling in Markdown files. So there's no database involved. There's no authentication or anything like that. Maybe make a channel for that that you can join. Yes, there is a channel. So there's a channel for website. I think I've made it private, so I'll make it public.